What's up, everybody? It's Critical. Wanted to tell another story tonight. A couple years ago, I used to mention from time to time that the hardest class I ever took in my academic career was a ceramics class in my sophomore year of college. And back then, a lot of people used to ask me to elaborate on it, and I just kind of figured now was the optimal time to do so. 2 or 3 years later, when the interest has really peaked in the ceramics story. I see people all the time buzzing in the comments. Do you guys remember 3 years ago in that video that has 4 views on it in total, when he mentioned ceramics being such a hard course? I just need to know how it could be so fucking difficult. So, that coupled with the fact that ceramics in general has been a really trendy topic in the world recently, because I believe there's only one human being left that's still practicing the art of ceramics, so I figured it's time to strike while the iron's hot and get in on this ceramics action. So my roommate and I were going to go ahead and call him G, because that's actually what he prefers to be called in real life, because he doesn't like his real name, so he wants people to call him G. I know it's some Men in Black type shit, but I respect it and I think it's pretty damn cool. G and I took a ceramics course. It was 4 credits. We both really needed the credits, and we thought it would be an easy A and it would be an enjoyable experience. But it turned out it was absolutely miserable. I would rather have my ass cheeks crushed by a hydraulic press than go through that class again. The nightmare really began on the first day of class. We immediately knew we had made a massive mistake taking this course. The professor rolls in by damn near kicking down the door because he was carrying a plate of his favorite ceramic pieces that he himself made over the years, and he was just extremely excited to show us what real ceramics looked like, so he made this fucking extreme entrance that looked like a cereal commercial from the early 90s. He comes stumbling in like he's trying to balance on a pair of invisible roller skates. He had a very difficult time walking a straight line for whatever reason, and he also created thunderously loud footsteps everywhere he went. I swear he just slapped his feet on the ground as hard as he could. You could hear him coming from a mile away. If you had a drink on the table, it would be like that scene in Jurassic Park if the fucking ceramics professor was on his way. It'd just start jiggling and shit, and you'd know he was on his way. It was just very unnecessary and obnoxious. So he rolls in, he's sporting a pair of jean shorts, a yellow polo, and an apron, and this was his standard uniform. You would not find him in anything but this attire. If you found him in any other clothes, you would basically found the Mewtwo in Pokemon Go. That shit just was not going to happen. Sometimes the color of the polo would vary, but he would always be wearing jean shorts and an apron. He had really blonde hair and gray eyebrows and a white mustache. It was a very strange clash of colors, but his mustache was the most interesting piece to me because it wasn't just the normal mustache. He wanted it to be the Hulk Hogan mustache, but his genetics, his facial hair just wouldn't allow him to have it. But it didn't matter. He may not have had the look of Hulk Hogan, but he certainly embodied the spirit, because Hulkmania ran wild in that fucking ceramics class. Shit was just brutal. He surprise suplexed every single student in that class. He let us know right away that it was going to be the hardest course of the semester, and he was not wrong. We would have a quiz every week and a test every 2 weeks on the history of ceramics. Obviously, there's no textbook on the subject because no one gives a shit about the history of ceramics except for him. So what he did is, over the course of a few years, he made hundreds of videos on the history of ceramics and put them on Vimeo, and we would have to watch them in order to pass the quizzes and the tests, and each video ranged from 3 to 4 hours, and I swear to you, he made up every sentence. Each video was just a jumbled, filthy mess of ass grease. It sounded like a badly written Magic Treehouse book. It was just so fucking abysmal. He would say things like, "Oh yes, of the Aztecian tribe, Chief Barbed Scrotum was boinking his wife while making the world's first teacup. When he finished, he exclaimed, 'Teacup, made have I,' in quotations, as if I'm supposed to believe that my fucking ceramics professor was there, watching Chief Penis Hair plow his wife and make this ceramics piece. But he tried to play it off as fact. He would even cite sources. My ass. It was just fucking nonsense, but he would actually make it a question on his quiz or his test. Just this really quick shout out in one of his videos here. At hour 1 minute 43, I was mentioning Aztecian Chief Nutsack Wax making the world's teacup. Verbatim, what did he say when he finished? And if you didn't get every word right, you just got the whole question wrong. There was no debating it. It was just fucking stupid. The whole thing was just dumb. And if the quizzes and the tests weren't bad enough, this man was beyond strict with the actual ceramics pieces we had to make. He gave us the world's worst directions on how to make the pots. He just made the whole thing sexual for absolutely no reason. Oh yes, you take your clay right here, and he's just holding it right near his cock. You just start, putting your thumbs in there. You want to get them real deep in there. You want to get those fingers in there, too. You gotta make sure it's at least 2 inches thick. If it's not 2 inches thick, you're getting kicked out of my fucking class. I swear to you. Fucking swear to you. I'll call your parents. He was just super creepy about it. Didn't help anyone. Our first assignment was to create 4 pots to his exact unrealistic specifications with no exception. There was no such thing as real pots have curves in that classroom, because if you didn't have your ceramics pieces to the exact dimensions that this professor could jerk off to, you weren't going to pass the class. You were getting an F. There was only an A or an F. If he could come in the pot and be satisfied with his load in there, you got an A. If he couldn't see himself coming in that pot, he'd either break it or just give you an F and take it. It was just miserable. And we also had to paint the pots with slip, but that shit's just impossible. I don't even want to get into it. Fucking Pablo Picasso couldn't paint a pot using slip. It's just stupid. That was just dumb. So needless to say, G and I didn't do very well on the first 4 pots. We had spent at least 20 hours working on them, and he said it didn't even look like we tried, which was just incredibly insulting because he saw us spending a lot of time in that stupid ceramics laboratory just working on this stupid shit. Yes, I understand my pots came out looking like chicken eggs that had been stepped on, and G's looked like clumps of asbestos, but still, you shouldn't be grading on your students' artistic prowess considering this was a 100 level course for non-art majors. That's just not fair. You should be grading on using the techniques, improvements, shit like that. So that was just ridiculous, but the next one is the one I will never forget. The project was to make a big ceramic vase, and G spent an extraordinarily long amount of time on this one, and he even said to me, Charlie, I'm going to kiss some ass real quick, so he even made a special piece just for the professor to let him know that he was putting in the extra time and the effort. So when the critique day rolled around, G presented him with his present first before the class started, and I was with him, and the professor looked it over for a moment, then he looked up with the most menacing, hollow, soulless eyes I'd ever seen, just staring a hole through G. And then he piercingly asks him, "What is this?" in the most condescending tone I'd ever heard. And then G says, "I made it for you. It was a present. I just wanted you to know that I'm putting in that extra work that you thought I needed to do." And the professor slaps it out of his hand onto the floor, walks away, doesn't say anything else. And then G has to embarrassingly pick it up and throw it in the trash. It was absolutely surreal. It was just downright evil. And I think he held a grudge because when it was G's turn to be critiqued on his vase, he was testing the structural integrity of it and accidentally broke the vase. And by break, I mean fucking exploded that shit. He was pressing on the sides with so much force. It was like he's trying to do a fucking Hulk clap. It was like that scene in Ricky-O where that man smashes the prisoner's head like a watermelon. That's what he did to G's vase. Just fucking destroys it and then fails him because it wasn't strong enough. I don't know what the fuck the professor was expecting. No ceramics are designed to withstand crushing force from a fucking floppy Subway sandwich of a man. That's just ridiculous. Obviously, G dropped the course after that incident, but it was just so hard to sit through and just witness. It was just absolutely mind-boggling how a professor could actually do that. I stuck with it till one more critique. The project was to create a creative bowl, and I'd just given up. I went for Bowser's shell design, but I didn't really give a shit. I just made a really wobbly bowl that didn't even sit flat, and then I threw spikes on the side of it. He hated it, obviously, but he kind of gave me a little compliment in front of the class. He held the bowl up and said, "Class, this is an example of a good idea, but absolutely horrible execution," and then set it back down and went on to critique the next person's work. Whatever, I really didn't try. And I was actually just going to stick with the class and just take the failing grade, because withdrawing from a class, dropping a class mid-semester looks a lot worse than just getting an F. But he actually pulled me aside when I went to class the week after the critique and said, "Please don't come to my class again." He actually said to me, he actually took the time away from the class to pull me into his office and ask me not to come to his class anymore. He was that disgusted with my ceramics abilities that he didn't want me tainting his class with my artistic ineptitude. It took every ounce of my willpower not to rip my shirt off and motorboat his face with my nipples. I wanted so badly to slap this man across the face and ask him who his daddy was. Didn't do either of those things, and I just withdrew from the class. It was just, I don't even know how to describe that experience. That was such a message that this guy hated my ceramics so much and thought that it was such a big waste of his valuable time that I shouldn't even just go to his class. Like, let's say I genuinely enjoyed ceramics and I just wasn't good at it. He's gonna tell me that I'm so bad I don't have the right to even try or go to his class? Fuck you, man. What a colossal sack of shit he is. But yeah, that's my ceramics experience, so yeah, that's it. So yeah. What's up, everybody? It's Critical. For years, I've gotten emails asking me to tell more stories, so that's what I'm gonna do tonight. Cozy on up, pop a squat down by the fireplace, and listen to my nipples. Ashamedly, this tale isn't that old. It happened last year. After my long-term relationship ended, I had devolved into a socially inept husk I had completely forgotten how to flirt or talk to females in a romantic way. It was bad. Every time I even tried to talk to a girl, I sounded like a troglodyte ODing on sleeping pills, and God forbid a girl ever made the mistake of starting a conversation with me. They would soon find out that I was fundamentally fluent in aphasia. The shit that was coming out of my mouth was just unintelligible. It was downright disrespectful to humanity how bad I was at flirting. But there's one night in particular that I still lose sleep over when I think back on. One event that to this day, when I'm about to ejaculate, makes my penis tingle in an unpleasant way. It was the very first weekend after my breakup, and I was going to a bar with my friends. I was going out with the intent of just drinking and having a good time and not worrying about anything. But my friend's sister insisted she wingman me that night, and I knew deep down in my soul that it would be a fucking train wreck. The night was darker than usual, the moon tucked away behind the clouds as if trying to cover its eyes and shield itself from the awkwardness that was about to unfold at this poor little bar. As if the moon knew just how shitty this experiment was going to turn out. But anyways, in my friend's sister's defense, she was an outstanding wingman, but the odds were stacked against her because she was trying to wingman a fucking sinking ship of social skills. So she was taking me to meet everyone at the bar. We met a ton of people. She was just dragging me along like I was her suitcase, except this suitcase wasn't filled with clothes or toiletries, it was just filled with awkwardness. And nothing too noteworthy happened. I managed to meet all of these new people without shitting my britches, which was a Herculean task, so that's an accomplishment that I'm very proud of. But then the very last two people we met will forever be etched into my memory. It was two attractive women, just casually drinking at one of the tables by the bar, as the bar was clearing out since it was getting late. The weatherman may have predicted cloudy with moderate humidity, but what he couldn't predict, what no one could have predicted, was the storm of awkwardness that was about to befall the area. My friend approached them the same as she had all the others, and as I trailed behind her, I could feel something deep inside of me pulling me, as if a future version of myself was trying to yank me away from the situation so I wouldn't have this memory. But alas, I disregarded the feeling and continued forward, each step towards their table, a new scar that I bear. We make it to the table. Small talk begins. Names are exchanged. I instantly forget both of their names, but I remember how I introduced myself to them. I extended my hand for a handshake like I'm conducting a fucking business meeting. Oh yes, ladies, I'll need the stock reports on my desk, 8 a.m. sharp. But the worst part of this gesture is when they do oblige my handshake, I kung fu grip them. I grab their hands hard as shit. It's like that scene in The Predator where Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers get in the handshaking competition. Oh, they got you pushing too many pencils. Well, I was pushing too much awkwardness right from the get-go. So yeah, suboptimal start, bit of a rocky beginning. Chalk that one up to nerves though, you know, that's excusable. So my friend's sister starts distracting one of the girls. Oh, do you go to UT too? What sorority are you in? This and that. Working under the assumption that I am not a bumbling goober and can handle a one-on-one conversation with the other girl. Rookie mistake. I absolutely could not handle that in any capacity. It was abysmal. I have no doubt. I can say with confidence that it is the worst conversation she had ever been a part of, and probably to this day is still the worst conversation she has ever been a part of. With each sentence that I diarrheaed out, I could feel it getting more and more uncomfortable for the both of us. So, do you like alcohol? I mean, it's a good beverage. Envelope adhesives, how do they keep those damn things together? You know, some strong shit. Oh, some nice shoes. I like shoes. I wear shoes sometimes, too. I don't wear shoes when I sleep, though. I take shoes off when I sleep. I'm not weird. I don't take the shoes. It was fucking miserable. And this continues for about 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know how she resisted the urge to just puke in my face, but she just let me keep going. I'm just over here hooting and hollering about our universe being a simulation or some shit. And then eventually she gets so bored, and I'm confused because I'm having a conversation with myself in my head, and I'm having one with her. So I was just, by the end of it, I didn't know if I was talking to myself or talking to her. It was just a weird situation altogether. But she gets so bored, and she puts the kibosh on it. She says, "Look, I've been having a shit week, and I just want to go home with a guy tonight, okay?" And then she puts her hand on my hand. And then I looked her in the eyes. We locked eyes for a minute. And I said to her, "Well, you're going to have to hurry up because the bar's clearing out. I wish you the best of luck finding a guy, but if you don't find one, I'll eat your pussy for a little bit if you want." That is verbatim what I said to her in response to that. I could never forget those words. They're burned into my brain. The second those escaped my mouth, I became sober. I was inebriated going into it. I said that, and then I could have flown a fucking plane at that point. I could feel my asshole pucker. My anus was becoming the universe. It was like every cell in my body was being bludgeoned by a cactus. For me, this was proof that whatever higher power or creator exists, they truly don't care about this world. Because if they did, they would have sent a fucking wild ice cream truck to take me out right then and there. And the look on her face, I will never forget it. It was a look of pure shock, confusion, and anger. Every emotion a human is capable of feeling, she felt in that moment. And then she pretended to get a phone call so she had an excuse to leave. That makes her a good person in my book, because what she should have done is say, "Hey, get the fuck away from me, you creepy homunculus," or something to that effect, because that's what I deserved. She was nice enough to actually make it seem like she just had something else to do instead of just telling me to fuck off, which she absolutely had a right to do because she had just put up with my ranting and raving for 20 minutes, and then I basically just rejected her to her face with my last little humdinger there. So to me, that woman is a hero. Now, to make matters even worse, though, my friend's sister and the girl's friend heard what I said. It's like the music in the bar just cut out and everyone stopped talking right before I uttered those words. But luckily, she never mentioned it because I'm assuming she erased it from her memory immediately after, so that way she would spare her mind the anguish of trying to comprehend what the fuck I was thinking when I said that. But yeah, so that's the story. It was by far the most uncomfortable situation I'd ever been a part of and created. I mean, I did both. I was both the participant and the orchestrator. So it was weird. But yeah, that's the story. That's it. So yeah. What's up, everybody? It's Critical. There's just something I want to talk about right now. More venting than anything. So last night I was watching Les Mis with Hugh Jackman and Anne Hathaway. I mean, I wasn't watching the movie with them, but the movie has them in it, and I was watching this movie with my girlfriend. And right towards the end of the movie, I started getting extremely intense chest pains that weren't subsiding. It was debilitating. I couldn't look down. Moving certain ways made it worse. And I decided I needed to go to the hospital. I thought I was having a heart attack. I was thinking Les Mis was so fucking bad that it actually gave me a heart attack. So I went to the hospital and I got there around 11 o'clock, a little after 11 o'clock, and it was just absolute dog anus there. Absolutely horrendous. It was impossible to get seen. I would have had better luck meeting Robert De Niro in person and then having my dick jerked off by Jennifer Aniston. From the time of signing in and just saying why I was there, it was about an hour to getting the vitals and EKG done, and I can understand that because it's a hospital, they were busy. I can understand a little bit of a wait in that area, but I get there at 11 o'clock, a little after 11. The doctor didn't see me or any of the tests I did until 5:33 a.m. I'll go ahead and do the math for you so you don't have to. That is 6.5 hours of not being seen despite going to the emergency unit here. This is the fucking emergency unit. Luckily, I wasn't having a heart attack, but if I was having a heart attack, I would have fucking dropped dead in their waiting room, and then it would have been about 2 hours for them to clean up the body. I just don't understand how that's acceptable. They weren't even filling me in like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're just so busy right now, the doctors are overloaded with a whole lot of work." They weren't communicating anything. I was just left in this fucking waiting room, developing deep vein thrombosis, waiting for this shit. I'm surprised that isn't a goddamn epidemic at Tampa General, just people dropping dead from deep vein thrombosis waiting to be seen in the emergency room. It's fucking ridiculous. Tampa General Hospital's motto should be, if you're not dead by the time you get here, the wait will kill you. It's just so fucking unbelievable how long they will make you wait without relaying any information to you at all or checking in on you or anything at all. It's the emergency room. People go there for emergencies, mostly. Some people go there just because they don't know where else to go or what to do. But for the most part, it's for people that think they are in a very serious situation and want to be seen immediately to make sure it's not urgent, and to just have them sitting in the waiting room like a virgin waiting for marriage. It's just so fucking unbelievable to me that that is an acceptable thing. And that's the fucking emergency side of this hospital. I can hardly even imagine what anything else in this area would look like. Basically a fucking summer camp, because if you go there, you're not even going to be seen that day, I imagine. This must have been them fucking rushing it. Quick, it's been 6.5 hours. We're making record time. Get him in here. It's just so fucking crazy to me. I can't even find the right words for it. Just sitting out there with this consistent chest pain for 6.5 hours thinking I'm having a heart attack. It's just scary. And it's just, fuck, it's unbelievable. Now, I've never been one to complain about wait times in any situations, because I get it. I understand. Things get very hectic, chaotic at the drop of a hat, and you can't always prepare for it. But to be so severely understaffed that you have patients waiting 6+ hours in the emergency side, it's just disgusting. I wasn't the only one waiting that long. Luckily, my chest pain, they didn't think it was cardiac. They thought it was more of a muscular skeletal issue, so hopefully it's nothing serious. But for someone who does go there and it's something more serious, like an appendicitis, they go there and present the symptoms, and then they make them sit in the waiting room for that amount of time, fucking decomposing, and then meanwhile their fucking appendix bursts, and then they're face down on your floor, your fucking blood-stained floor, because they don't clean up the floor. There was a bunch of blood on the floor, so they're face down on the floor. If they're not dead from that, then they've contracted some type of blood-borne illness. Really, if you're in an extreme situation here in Tampa and you need to get seen right away, going to the Tampa General Hospital is the worst thing you can do for yourself. You might as well write a letter to Santa and ask him to help you out. You would get the same response time from Santa as you would from Tampa General Hospital. The only good thing I can say about the facility is the staff is pretty friendly. That's it, really. In total, the time at the hospital last night was about 8.5, kind of close to 9 hours, not quite 9 hours. 6.5 hours to get seen by the doctor, get 10 minutes of talking with the doctor, then he goes and checks another thing for 2 hours. The shift changes, I get another doctor who has to go do the same procedure again, comes back, and then I got released. Overall, just absolutely disgusting how poorly run that facility is. I can't understand how they can be so understaffed. And I did talk to some of the staff there asking, what's going on, every 3 or 4 hours, I'd check in, what's going on? Did the fucking doctor get blown up in an explosion back there? What's going on? Fill me in. And they told me it's just Mondays. They say they get busy on Mondays. Well, fuck, if you know you're going to be busy on Mondays, why don't you have more people on site for Mondays then? Doesn't that make a little bit of sense? It doesn't even have to be qualified doctors and nurses. Have some fucking dogs carrying notes from the doctor out to the patients in the waiting room. Anything at all to let them know that you haven't forgot about them. So I'm going to stop ranting, but overall, a horrible experience at that hospital with the waiting. I would not recommend it if you need some urgent care. However, I would recommend Tampa General Hospital if you need a place to charge your phone. They have some phone charging stations, and they're pretty effective. Yeah, that's it. So yeah. What's up, everybody? It's Critical. I wanted to share a story with you all about an experience I've had with Tinder. I haven't told a story in a while, and I thought this was a good one to tell. I still have Tinder, but I don't use it anymore. And over the last year, I only really used it to survey my matches about Brendan Fraser and just kind of gauge their interest in a Brendan Fraser comeback. Basically, I was just a fucking Brendan Fraser epidemiologist on Tinder. But that wasn't always the case. Back when Tinder was first starting to get big a few years ago, I put a lot of effort there and went on a few dates from Tinder. The majority of the dates were absolutely atrocious, just abysmal. But one date in particular will stand out as the worst date I've ever had, and probably will ever have. It's the worst date you could ever have. So I was talking to this girl from Tinder, and she was a real cutie patootie, and I was making some smooth moves. Hey girl, you got that baloney, I got that turbo dick, let's make a sex sandwich. Some real suave shit. Yahar, matey, your cooter be wettin' me Willie wants to set sail. Let's fuck, some good shit, and she was into it. So we had come up with a whole date day, we were gonna meet and do all these things together, and it was gonna be a fun day. And when that day rolled around, it turned out there was no fun to be had whatsoever. So the plan was I was going to pick her up and we were going to get food first, but I couldn't really figure out which house was hers because the address was all kind of fucked up in the GPS. I guess she lived in an underground bunker. So I pulled up to this weird looking house. It looked like a little crack shack, and then an old man exited the door as I was texting her. So I was like, oh shit, this guy that looks like a ZZ Top member's coming into my car. I've been bamboozled. I've been schmeckeldorfed. But then she calls me and it turns out I was just at her neighbor's house. But then when I pulled up to her house and she exited the door, it was the exact same experience. This girl looked nothing like her Tinder pictures or any of the Snapchats she sent me. This was a completely different person. But she was fun to talk to, so, I still thought it was still going to be a fun day, even though she didn't look like what I expected or anything like that. So she opens my car, and as she sits down, she just rips ass. Just fucking explodes from the anus. It's like she just jumped on a whoopee cushion once she got in my car. And there was no reasonable excuse you could make here, like, oh, damn sneaky sneakers making fart noises down there. No. It was very clear to everyone, including God, that was a really hard breaking of wind. but she tried her best to try and hide the sound, so she just started coughing super loud, so that way, oh, it was just a cough, a really loud cough. But she really overdid it. She went into a fucking 40-second coughing fit for a 1-second ass rippage. I don't understand. Maybe she was just farting the whole time she was under this coughing spell, just shitting her pants in my passenger seat. But I was worried I was going to have to fucking take her to the hospital. She just kept coughing and coughing and coughing, and I was panicking. And then, all of a sudden, she stopped and apologizes, and that's when the smell hits. This disgusting, foul Methodist fills my car, and it takes the breath right out of me. It makes my eyes water and my nose burn. It's like a biological weapon was just unleashed within my vehicle. I didn't know how to react, but I couldn't point out this elephant in the anus here. I just needed to pretend like I didn't smell anything. So I tried to act completely normal, but she was saying something to me and I couldn't make out what she was saying because it was as if a grenade had just gone off in this car. My ears were ringing, my vision was blurry. Her voice was muffled, her words were gibberish. She sounded like a fucking adult character in the Charlie Brown cartoon. Nothing was making sense. For a moment, I had exited this corporeal world through a fart. But then the dust began to settle and I came back to reality. And I just asked her to repeat what she said, and she did. I don't remember what she said. All that was on my mind is, how can I get out of this? So I came up with this genius plan, this absolutely brilliant scheme. So I told her, hey, look, I forgot my dad told me he wanted to go bowling today. We already made the plan last week, and I can't leave him hanging like this, so we can go get lunch, but after that, I've got to skedaddle. And she wasn't buying it. She knew something was awry here. What bowling alley are you going to, she asks. As beads of sweat start streaming down my face, I start trying to connect words that could sound like a bowling alley. So I came up with Sky King Pins. It doesn't really sound like a bowling alley. It sounds like somewhere you'd go to watch airplanes race against each other, but it was the best I could do at the time. And she was okay with that. What pound of bowling ball do I use? 15. First one that came to mind. I usually use a 16. I throw the fucking lead down there. I throw fucking cannonballs when I go bowling, but 15 because it's the first number that popped into my head when she said that. Next question. How old's my dad? That one caught me off guard. I don't know why she asked me that. I don't understand the relevance, but still she asked, and the only thing I could think of was my dad wouldn't be happy if I told someone else's age. Then she asked me a couple other really stupid questions, but one that was a real tit slapper, one that I knew I'd have to be very careful with how I answered. She asked, okay, can we hang out after you're done bowling with your dad? I didn't know what to do. This was the Gordian knot that I'd need to cut here. How could I address this question? Because I don't like to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't like to make anyone feel bad. So I couldn't just say, no, of course we can't. I just had to tiptoe around it. So I came up with this really long-winded story, this very elaborate novel of what we were going to participate in after bowling. Oh, after we go get a few strikes, we were all going to go to my grandma's house where she's making her world-famous salmon sugar pancakes. I'm sorry, it's just got a whole lot of plans for the rest of the day I won't be able to. And she was disappointed but understood because, Grandma's whipping up her good old-fashioned dirt and soil crumpets or whatever the fuck I told her that she was making. I don't even remember what meal I said. But she understood. And then we got to the restaurant. We got our food. Things were winding down. Eating, there was nothing too out of the ordinary that happened there. Just general small talk until she got a phone call from her parents. They had called her to yell and scream at her because her grades were slipping. I could hear most of it. It was extremely uncomfortable to sit through. It sounded like she was being shouted at by a fucking drill sergeant. And then she started breaking down into tears in the restaurant. And I'm not really good when people are crying around me. I don't really know how to handle that. So I would just kind of, cheer up, sport. They don't know you. You're strong, and it's just school. Come on, champ. You don't let that affect you. We're having such a great day. Come on, just think of all the fun we're having here. You're farting and shitting in my car and stuff, and now you're crying in this restaurant. Come on, let's just get you home. It was just very uncomfortable. There's not even words I could use to describe just how awful that situation was for the both of us. Because I know it was shitty for her too. Because she's crying in front of this person she hardly knows. And that was pretty much the end of the date. I brought her home. The car ride was completely silent for the 15 minutes from the restaurant to her place. And then she just said, all right, see ya. And I was like, all right, take it easy. Peace out. I'm out ski. I'm bouncing. I said all of those to her, and then I went and left. And then I checked with her later to see if she was feeling better about that whole situation with her parents, and she said she was, so that's good. But yeah, that's the worst date I've ever had, and also pretty much my experience with Tinder summed up into one story. And yeah, that's it. See ya. Yesterday I made a video making jokes at a man named Brian Taylor, who's an Australian sports commentator who went out of his way to insult an esports team at a football game for no reason, and now all 5 of Brian Taylor's fervent fans on Facebook are mad at me, so they've got their pitchforks out, they've rallied the entire anti-vaccination group of moms there to target me and get mad at me, all because I insulted their hero with some jokes. And I also want to talk about Reddit because the video got posted there, and Reddit has to be the most humorless place on the fucking planet. Let me make this clear for all enlightened atheist Redditors out there, you euphoric beings. I just posted that video to make jokes. The guy was being a douchebag, so, that's ripe for making jokes about. If you're gonna dish out jokes and be mean, you should be able to take some jokes as well, as should your fans. It was not there as some type of moral high ground where I'm trying to rally a team of elite gamers to show Brian that he's a bad person and going to hell for insulting gamers. No, I just wanted to make jokes. I pointed out why he's a douchebag, and then I made jokes at him and about him. It's not supposed to be some thought-provoking piece that rattles your very soul and makes you self-reflect on yourself. I just wanted to make some fucking jokes. Meanwhile, Reddit's like, oh, this guy's such a hypocrite. Yeah, Brian was insulting those guys, but this guy's no better. He's insulting Brian. Oh, disgusting. Jokes? What do you mean, jokes? On the internet in 2019, isn't that illegal? This man should be thrown in jail for making jokes. He should be in the slammer right now. I don't get it. How dumb is Reddit overall? Or not even dumb. I think it's just blatantly ignorant to just social shit in general. I think it's very clear I was just making jokes. It wasn't supposed to be some type of moral piece. Yeah, I pointed out he's a douchebag. Yeah, I pointed out it's rude. It is. And then I made jokes. It's not like I was there to be better than Brian. I just wanted to make some fucking jokes. And I think Facebook understood that. They at least knew it was there for jokes, not some type of moral piece. But let me give you a little background on the Facebook thing. So Brian Taylor's got a Facebook page, a fan page. It's not his page. And it started out as a satire piece to make fun of Brian Taylor originally. And then it got hijacked by people that actually like Brian Taylor, so now it has this identity crisis where sometimes it supports him, and then other times it just takes the dick right out of him. So it's got this weird dichotomy going on, this weird civil war, and it seems I've united them as a common enemy like the raid boss, so now they've all come together to insult me, and I can't tell if it's ironic or not, and I don't really care because it's pretty goddamn entertaining. So Brian Taylor, the owner of the account, posted this, where he calls me a neck-bearded virgin who attacks BT. It's a bit of a stretch. I can tell the person who owns this account's probably in like mid-30s, because they must have just read neck-bearded virgin on like an archived 4chan source trying to catch up with like internet lingo and shit. I don't have a neck beard. I don't even grow hair down here except for like rogue pubic hairs that'll pop up here and there, which look fucking disgusting. And if I did have a neck beard growing in, I would immediately nair that off or like go to laser hair removal because I just can't stand the look of neck beards. I'm sure some people can pull them off. I can't. And I know neck beard's supposed to just be a general insult, but in this case it doesn't really apply. Virgin, I'm not a virgin, but if you want to make me a virgin in your own headcanon lore to jerk off to, I'm totally fucking fine with that as well. But anyway, the people, he posted this, and then the fans or the people shitposting for Brian Taylor hopped on board, and there's some bangers in there. So the senile owner of this page says, odds on this bastard living in his parents' basement at 30, and the fans of this page are so fucking dumb, the response to this was, $1.02. How do you even dress yourself in the morning? That's not how odds work. Are you fucking kidding me? How fucking dumb are you? I'm not gonna sit here and be your 3rd grade teacher and teach you how this works, but god damn. I want you to go through this out loud in your head looking in the mirror at some point. Someone asks you, hey, what are the odds that this horse wins the horse race? Your response, $1.02. Does that sound right to you? Or if you want to do it in a more social situation, what are the odds I get real fucked up at this party and bang this girl that I've been interested in? $1.02 odds. Does that sound right? No, it doesn't. You need to rehearse a little bit here. Holy shit. And that's what most of the comments are. There's also this really cute, innocent one. Is anyone else Googling lolly porn? This poor guy. This guy's obviously probably a middle-aged father. He doesn't know what that is, and he's in for a real rude awakening. Or he's gonna find something very sexually evil within himself. It's one or the other, really. Could go either way. I really just don't have a whole lot to say about the comments on here or the beef between Brian Taylor and I, because I really think most of these are ironic. I just really, it feels that way. It feels like they're all in on the joke, and some of them are really sad that I almost have to convince myself that it's ironic at some point. Some of them I just plain out just outright can't understand, like this one. He doesn't look like he plays any sports. Clearly an uneducated man who's got no idea. You bagged a Coleman in 86 kicking 100 snags. BT, goodness gracious me. Don't know what's going on in the brain department here. I understood maybe half of those words. I have no fucking clue what bagging a Coleman 86 100-foot snag proton electron kinesiology power stone loop-de-doop and pull is. So a lot of it's just lost in translation on these. I can't even tell if they're insulting me or not because it just doesn't make sense. I don't know the sport. Then there's some real internet tough guys like, man, if he said this to Brian, I bet Brian would rip his goddamn tits off. I know I would if I ever saw this guy saying that shit. It's jokes. You need to have some thicker skin. I understand you're on your Facebook safe space, but it's a fucking joke. It's not really a call to action or violence. It's just making a fucking joke. And then there's this post right here comparing me to this character. And that's fair. I'll give you that. That's fair, honestly. You've got me on that one. Of the entire 1,000 comments, that's probably the best one. And really, I just don't have a lot to say about these because, again, I really feel like most of them are just in on the joke. So Brian Taylor, this isn't his page. He hasn't responded. He probably won't. He seems like the kind of guy that can probably take a joke. He doesn't need limp-dicked Facebook fan pages fighting his battles for him. I'm sure he can handle it himself if he wants to. Or there's a chance that he understands it's a goddamn joke. Reddit's the one that actually got under my skin just because of these fucking fart-sniffing, humorless assholes acting like they're the moral internet police. And you're not allowed to make jokes at any point for any reason whatsoever. Like, you can criticize the jokes saying they're not good. That's totally fine. I get that. But to say that, it's so hypocritical, jokes, that doesn't make any sense. That's just stupid. I hate that. So Reddit's the one that I actually felt more offended by than the Brian Taylor fan page that went out of their way to make a beef out of it, and I can't even tell if it's genuine or not, but either way it was entertaining. So that's about it. Brian Taylor was still a douchebag in that interview. He might be a good guy in real life. I don't know. That's it. See ya. Occasionally during my live streams, people bring up Miami because I'm in Florida and everyone knows Miami, so they always want to know, have I been there? Do I like Miami? And I made it very clear that I have a very palpable disdain for that city, if you can even call it a city. I call it a scam. I almost just don't even believe in Miami. It's kind of like the fucking Tooth Fairy to me. If the Tooth Fairy was a huge asshole whose only purpose was to bite your nipples off while you were asleep, I really do hate Miami. So let's get really into the meat and semen of why I hate Miami. I've only been one time. It was my junior year of college, and my friends and I went for spring break. We were going to celebrate it there, just go fucking wild. Yeah, Miami Beach party. Oh, tits all over the place. Look at all that ass, and look at all these beers and alcohols. And that was the plan. But we severely underestimated just how expensive everything in Miami is. We knew it was going to be a bit pricier, but not even Jesus Christ himself could have convinced us it'd be as expensive as it turned out to be. There was only one thing in all of Miami we could afford, and that was the hotel because we all pooled our money together to be able to afford that. Past that, we were left to die. The people in Miami wouldn't piss in your mouth if you were dying of thirst unless you had $1,000 to pay them for it. The prices there are out fucking rageous. We couldn't be left alone. We couldn't buy anything alone. We had to stay in a group and start budgeting our money. Hey man, look, I just ran out of soap and I need to get some at Walgreens. Can you spot me $50 so I can at least get halfway there and I'll cover the other 50? Because you can't afford anything. We couldn't buy a pack of almonds on our own without coming together as a group and budgeting that purchase. It's fucking insane how expensive everything there is. Let's go ahead and start from day one because it hit us immediately when we got there. We planned the trip for 4 days. We stayed all 4 days, but on the first day we knew we were in for a rude awakening. So day one we were already, ready to rock and roll, ready for partying. Hey, it's spring break. It's time to go nuts to butts. Let's fucking hit it and shit it. So we got a taxi, which was extremely expensive, got stuck in Miami traffic for an hour, and then made it to this area where all the bars are. I can't even remember what it's called, but there's a bar there that's like the Frankliner or maybe like the Frankie Doolittle or something. I don't remember, but it's a big bar there, and we paid $20 to get in, which is huge for us because in Tampa, it's free entry if you're over 21, so paying $20 just to get in, that was a real slap to the urethra, but we did it anyway because spring break, baby, woo! Shirt over your head and everything, about ready to go wild. And we made the mistake of ordering shots right upon getting there. Shots of Fireball, because in Tampa, a shot of Fireball is $3, and I'll never forget what it is in Miami at the Frankie Muniz Hotel or whatever. $18. $18 for a shot of Fireball. Fireball is the shittiest alcohol you can get in a shot, and it was $18 there. It was insulting. So after taking that shot, needless to say, it was basically like swallowing all of our money at the same time. We were already running out of money just from our first bar visit and first round of drinks. If I wanted to take that shot glass and dunk it into their pool, I'd probably have to pay $10 for their chlorinated pool water with pee all in it. It's unreal, the prices there. But it wasn't all lost upon going to that bar, because there was a homeless man, probably not actually homeless, but he dressed like a homeless man, and he was doing magic tricks, and we got a little private magic show from him. And it was all hat magic, so he'd like be doing cool shit with his hat. And his grand finale was he pulled out a baggie of cocaine from his hat. It was really fucking cool, and we all gave him like $5 because he fucking earned it like a motherfucker. That man should be going on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, or maybe America's Got Talent. It was a great routine, and he's even got a little something to get the crowd energized. Just start throwing coke out. I could see him being a big magician someday. Hopefully he's doing well. We called it a night right after that, because it certainly wasn't getting better than that magic show, and it certainly wasn't getting cheaper. So we went back to the hotel, and we started just drinking all of the alcohol we brought. That was a lot of fun, just 5 guys in the hotel room getting absolutely shit-faced because they couldn't afford to elsewhere. And I got extremely drunk, probably the drunkest I've ever been, and I blacked out. And then the next day, we all planned to go to the beach, but I was so incredibly fucked up that I needed to keep having the taxi driver pull over so I could puke. We finally got to the beach, and I still had to keep puking, but apparently all of the areas on the beach don't really have bathrooms. Miami doesn't believe in bathrooms, so I went to a Walgreens. They don't have a bathroom. I went to the next door business that I don't remember. They didn't have a bathroom. I went to the other business next door, which was probably like a cocaine supplier. I don't really know what it was, but it was a dilapidated little business. They didn't have a bathroom, so I ended up just puking on the road. I just figured, why not? I had nowhere else to go, and I'm sure it's pretty commonplace in Miami. I'm sure I'm about the 5th guy that morning to puke on that road. And I was feeling like shit for the rest of the entire day. The beach was underwhelming. It was just like every other beach in Florida. There was nothing super special about it except for some trivia, like Dexter Season 2 was filmed, or the Dexter intro was filmed on that beach. Like, who gives a fuck? It was so boring. At least right up until a Category 5 hurricane hit Miami that day. It wasn't an actual hurricane, but there was a goddamn monsoon that blew through and completely annihilated us. Apparently there was like a fucking news warning that went out, like, this is going to be the biggest storm we've had in 10 years. And we weren't listening to the news or anything, so we just went to the beach. There wasn't a whole lot of people there, but I can see why now. And it was just this incredibly disastrous storm that hit, with intense wind that was nearly knocking me over and my friends, and this hardest rain ever. It was like we were getting hit by baseballs. It was so miserable. Walked away bruised and bloody, but undeterred. Our spirits were still as high as they could be, because come that night we were ready to try again. Bars were out of the question because we couldn't afford the drinks, so we thought, how about clubs? So we went to a club. I don't remember the name of it. It might have been Platinum or something to that degree. $300 to get into that club. That's excluding drinks. That's not included. $300 just to go in there. Unbelievable. Needless to say, we all didn't have $300 a person to pay to get into this shit-ass club on the side of the fucking road. So we didn't go to that club. I don't know why it was $300. Maybe Jay-Z, Post Malone, Lil Wayne, and Johnny Cash was revived and they were all playing that night. That might justify $300 to go in there. But we didn't do it, so that was another bust. And then we decided, how about a strip club? Miami's famous for their strip clubs, and we thought maybe King of Diamonds would be fun. But this time we wisened up before paying for the extremely expensive ride to the King of Diamonds or anywhere in Miami. We decided to look up how much it is at King of Diamonds. Way too expensive. In a nutshell, way too expensive. Strippers there probably wouldn't even look at you if you were throwing dollars at them. You'd have to be showering hundreds to even get them to look in your direction. So we didn't go to King of Diamonds or any other strip club either. That was day 2. Day 3, we gave up. Day 3, we took a day to just recoup. We hung out in the hotel. We walked around Miami just at like little mom and pop stores, I enjoyed that. That was kind of fun. We saw a little bit of the city. We went to some stores, couldn't afford anything there because you can't afford anything in Miami. That's the main lesson to take away from the experience. But we went to some little diners and stuff and tried a bunch of different foods that I'd never heard of before, which was kind of nice. But that was day 3. Spring break's really kicking in nice. Day 4, we tried one more time. We went to different bars. The prices were a little bit better than at the Frankie show, the Frankie Way, whatever that bar is. The prices were a little bit better. So we all chipped in and bought a pitcher, which was just kind of the most pathetic drinking experience I've ever had, because we were all just defeated. Like, you know what, guys? How much money do we have left? 15 quarters? All right, let's just see if we can haggle a pitcher of beer off of this bar here. And miraculously we did get a pitcher, and we all just kind of drank away the spring break because it was bad. I would have had more fun spending spring break in a sensory deprivation tank than in Miami. It was an absolutely miserable experience. The worst spring break I've ever had, and definitely the worst spring break I think a college kid could have. We lost pretty much all of the money we brought with us and had nothing to show for it. But it was kind of a good-looking city. It was kind of pretty, and walking around trying a bunch of different foods was kind of fun. I would never recommend anyone ever go to Miami, because you just can't afford to. Unless you're taking out a mortgage, taking out some loans or something to be able to afford anything at all there, you're just not going to be able to have any fun. There's also a huge drug problem there, from what I could tell. I don't really keep up with the Miami news or anything, but walking the beach and shit, there are so many people asking you if you want to buy drugs, which was really uncomfortable. But overall, hated Miami. I would never recommend you spend spring break in Miami. Anywhere else. Literally spring break anywhere else. Go to fucking Antarctica, you'll have more fun. I don't really care where you go, but you will not have fun in Miami. That's the gist of it. That's it. See ya. Anime is a word that inspires confusion, fear, and boners. On the surface, it's just another form of entertainment, but what it actually is a weapon. And like all weapons, there's the potential for misuse. This is the story of how I misused anime in my first year of college, and potentially led the entire student body to believe that I was some type of fucking lunatic who was one bad Naruto episode away from crashing his car into the side of the on-campus gym. It all started in high school. I was pretty reclusive, I didn't go out much, but I did watch a lot of anime, and it taught me 2 very important lessons. The first being, the power of friendship is the strongest force in the universe that not even God himself can compete with. Friendship probably led to the Big Bang creating our fucking universe. The second lesson being, the mysterious guy is always the coolest guy that big-titted girls want to fuck, and smaller-titted girls want to fuck. And I really took that lesson to heart, and I super shouldn't have. Absolutely not. But I did. And what happened is, as I graduated high school, I realized that college was my chance to really reinvent myself and change what people think about me, my perception, because no one knows about me. In high school, everyone knew me because I went to a small school, so I couldn't exactly just kick down the door one day sporting a leather jacket and riding a Harley Davidson and have everyone think I was super cool all of a sudden. They'd probably just think I was possessed by the spirit of a 40-year-old father going through his midlife crisis. But in college, nobody knew me, so I could be anything I wanted to be. And man, I wanted to be the anime mysterious guy. And holy shit did it lead to a very embarrassing and lonely first year of my college. So my college anime opened up with an incredible season opener, just a beautiful introduction. On move-in day, the literal first time setting foot in college soil, being an adult, a full-grown, full-hairy, penised adult on a college campus. On move-in day, I had my dad helping me. And going to my dorm, moving in the elevator, there was a girl and her father who were moving in there on the same floor. And my dad was talking to her dad and her a little bit. I didn't say a word. I was too cool to say a word. My dad tried to throw me into the conversation. So he asked me a real softball question that even a toddler could fumble his way through. I don't remember exactly what he asked me, but it was something like, "Oh, are you excited to move into this dorm, Charlie?" And I'll never forget my response because I remember this verbatim. I said, "You know I can't talk about that, Dad." I don't know why I said that. I guess in my head I thought that she would think that was super fucking dope, like I was some type of super secret agent that can't talk about his opinions. But really it just came across like, wow, this is a guy that I should be afraid of. But at the time, it didn't register with me like that was a weird thing to say. I went through the rest of that day being really proud of that, like, damn, fucking nailed it in the elevator. College is gonna be great. I just expected, like, if we saw each other in the hallway, she'd just be overcome with ecstasy and just charge me like, "Charlie, son," and then give me a smooch on my smoochers. But in reality, as you can imagine, that never happened. And that was really just setting the tone for the rest of that entire year for me. I wanted to, and luckily Kaya talked me out of it, I wanted to put an Xbox disc of Psychonauts around a chain on my neck so that way people would know that I like Psychonauts. It's not exactly mysterious because I'm kind of beating you on the urethra with, I like this, I'm clearly wearing it. But I was like, this is so different. This is totally what an anime guy would do, like the mysterious guy. Another thing that I wanted to do, and Kaya again talked me out of it, he really saved me from having an even more catastrophic freshman year of college, is I wanted to carry around a deck of cards and do magic tricks at house parties or just around campus to really make people be like, damn, that was cool. I need that guy's number. Who was that guy? That guy's super cool. Let's invite the magic deck guy back, the magic card trick guy. That super awesome and fun guy. I didn't end up doing that, but I did used to do some magic tricks at house parties, which is still embarrassing, but the cards were already there. I didn't bring them or like come up to people, hey, you want to see a fucking magic trick? They were at least there. It made sense at the time. But bringing them around like a mysterious guy, keeping them in like a Ziploc bag, there was no coming back from that. If I went down that destructive path, I'd probably be behind bars right now just from scaring the general populace. Like, what is this guy up to with this deck of cards? This is a maniac. Get him off the streets, this menace. But now let's talk about the things that the social savior Kaya wasn't able to prevent me from doing. One of the biggest ones that I can remember is I used to go to clubs because I obviously wasn't really getting invited to house parties. Because who's going to want to invite the guy who doesn't talk because he thinks it's cool not to? Like, I would blatantly just avoid answering questions in class. If I got called on, I'd just blow it off like, oh, yeah. I wouldn't even give like a yes or a no. I wouldn't be like no, I don't know the answer. I wouldn't even give the answer. I'd just be like, oh, yeah. Just like fucking mumble it out like I was fucking overdosing on Xanax. So obviously no one was going to come out of their way to invite me to a house party. No one got to know me my freshman year. So I'd go to clubs by myself. And one time, it was New Year's, and I had these light up New Year's glasses. And they were some pretty fucking cool glasses, not going to lie. And I was wearing them around my neck because they were so bright I couldn't really see. I was basically just flashbanging myself when I was wearing them normally with the lights going on and shit. So I had them around my neck. And this girl came up to me and started talking to me about them. And instead of like answering any of your questions, I was playing it the same way I did everything else. I just didn't say a word. She said something about my glasses, but she fucked up and called them a necklace. She said something like, I like your necklace. That's a cool necklace. They're glasses. How dare you fuck that up? But anyway, I just disregarded it and I stared at her blankly. Like a fucking robot whose programming just malfunctioned, or I just fell asleep standing up. But she kept trying to get me to talk to her, get me to open up. That goddamn hero, that trooper, she just kept really trying to pry me open, but it just wasn't happening. Getting me to talk and not be mysterious in my freshman year of college would be like trying to open up a dumpster and not have a wave of shit hit your nostrils. But she kept trying. She pulled out her shirt saying, do you like my shirt? And it said something like, short girls know how to have fun or something like that, or something to that extent. And I glanced at it and then I immediately went back to staring at her without commenting on the shirt or even saying a word. I didn't make a noise. I didn't even make like a caveman grunt, like a Tim Allen. I didn't do anything. I didn't make a single audible noise. So I was basically just a fucking statue there. She tried again. She said something else about my necklace, and this time it must have just struck a chord because I remember I pulled them off of my neck slowly and I put them on my eyes, and then I flicked them on the next setting, which was like this intense, glowing, like strobe light shit, like some blinding, banging strobe light shit. And then she walked away. I still didn't say anything because I just put them on my eyes and then turned that setting on and kept staring at her. So I don't blame her for walking away. And that was really when it hit me like, maybe being the mysterious weirdo isn't going to pay off. But I still committed to it. I still kept going past that. That was New Year's, and we still had another 5 or so months of me being an odd, weird, anime-inspired, mysterious loser. There's really no other big events that really stick out to me. Just a bunch of small stuff that I kept doing throughout the entirety of my freshman year. Like if it was raining and everyone was like, oh fuck, it's raining and I forgot my umbrella, I'm just gonna wait it out. I'd walk right by them, just kind of like wiggle my way through them, and then I'd just walk out in the rain like I didn't give a shit, like I didn't even know it was raining. Like I'd pull out my phone, much to the detriment of my phone, just be like, oh, rain? Too mysterious to feel rain. I really don't know why I ever thought walking out in the rain looking like some kind of dumb asshole would be cool or mysterious, because it doesn't fit either category. But that was another thing I'd partake in almost every time it rained. The only other big event that I can really think of, one that I still think about and it keeps me up at night and really haunts my boners to this day, is when I took an art therapy course towards the second semester of my freshman year. I don't remember exactly what it was. It wasn't art therapy, but it was something similar. It was just an art class basically where you express yourself. And I thought it would be amazingly mysterious and really get girls' panties super fucking wet, just sodden panties being tossed at me. Is every assignment I tried to make it as dark and bland as possible. So one of the assignments being, what do you think of your friends? You were supposed to do one about 12 friends. You make a drawing to represent each friend. And for mine, I did the same thing for all of them. It was a black box. I don't know why I don't know what at all was my thought process with that, but I just did 12 black boxes to represent all of my friends, and when I was supposed to present it, I gave them each a name, and I did name 12 friends. I'm kind of more acquaintances. I didn't really have any like super close friends or anything, but I did name 12 people that I knew and who also knew of my existence. And that just made me seem like I belonged in an insane asylum looking back on it. But at the time I was like, oh, girls love the troubled artist, the mysterious troubled artist. This is beautiful. There's going to be tears in their eyes. I already know it. I'm going to get an A on this project. Spoiler alert, I didn't get an A because she thought I just blew it off and goofed on it. So I got a D because I at least turned something in. But even still, I drew 12 black boxes. That's some shit that you see in a horror movie. Like when the weird kid's scribbling shit on paper in a black crayon. And then you find out that the kid's actually a demon. That's that kind of shit that I presented to the class, and there's no doubt in my mind those students walked away deeply disturbed and afraid of me from that moment on. So, that's how I spent the entire first year of my college experience, emulating the anime mysterious guy. It wasn't until I moved out of my dorm and in with a new group of guys who put the kibosh on that shit and taught me how to be social because they did not want to be living with some fucking weirdo that's trying to be an anime mysterious guy. So that's kind of that's how my first year of college went. The lesson to take away from this is don't emulate what you see on anime because it's just not gonna fucking work unless you have some like superpowers that you might like, some really fucking cool superpowers. You might be able to get away with being weirdly mysterious, but I didn't. The only superpower I had was being below average male height. But if you have some cool superpowered shit, maybe you can emulate anime to some extent and still be cool, but I couldn't. But I wouldn't recommend it to most people, the non-superpowered people out there. To the people that aren't X-Men, don't try and be an anime mysterious guy. Don't be weird. That's it. See ya. What's up, everybody? It's Critical, and I bet you thought I forgot about it this year, huh? I bet you thought it just slipped my mind. You've been going to bed every night, sailing with a semi-chub, drifting off into nightmares because you thought I didn't remember. Well, now you can finally get some peaceful sleep because I did remember, and it is that time. That time where I answer the year's most asked questions and emails that I've gotten. So let's just dive right in. The first one is, what happened to the lesbian porn video that I exclusively masturbated to for a few years? For those of you who don't keep up with podcast lore, for a couple of years I would only masturbate to one lesbian porn video called Nice Pair of Lesbians. I was basically married to this video. I wouldn't cheat on it with any other videos. And I've been getting asked throughout the entire year what happened to it. So let's talk about Nice Pair of Lesbians. It got taken down, and to my knowledge and through research, extensive research, I can't find it anywhere. There's no re-uploads. If there is re-uploads, it's probably in like 140p, and that's just not even worth busting to. But yeah, so let's take a moment of silence and remember Nice Pair of Lesbians on RedTube. So now that I've answered the most hard-hitting question with that out of the way, the next one is, what is 100% on the moist meter? So I started the moist meter series this year, and the highest score I've given is a 90%, so people are wondering what the fuck does 100 look like. They assume it's The Mummy, since The Mummy is my favorite movie, and my second favorite movie is The Mummy Returns. But no, I wouldn't give either one of them 100. I don't mean to startle or scare any of you. I'm not trying to sniff your ass while you're bending over in the shower for soap or anything, trying to catch you off guard. I just don't think they're perfect movies or anything. At most, I'd give them a 70%. I think they're just extraordinarily fun, and I genuinely love them more than any other movie I've ever seen. But come on, let's be honest here. Let's call a scooter a scooter. These aren't masterpieces. They're just great, fun movies to watch and enjoy. I could only think of 3 things that I would give 100% to on the moist meter. 2 TV shows and 1 movie, and I've thought about this quite a bit. The only movie I could see myself giving 100% to out of all the movies I've seen is The Dark Knight. I think The Dark Knight is just an all-around perfect movie. No matter what your tastes are, you will enjoy The Dark Knight to some degree. It has a little bit of everything, and all of it is just perfectly executed. I think that is just a masterpiece in terms of movies. For TV shows, the first one I think a lot of you will agree with me on, and then those who don't are the ones that sniff their farts and get high off of them, and it's Breaking Bad. I know some of you are turned off. Wow, bandwagoner, he likes Breaking Bad, thinks it's a perfect show. But I really do. From start to finish, the show only gets better. Starts off fantastic, gets better, ends perfectly. I loved everything about Breaking Bad, 0 complaints. And the other TV show is Courage the Cowardly Dog. I made a whole video dedicated to talking about Courage, and I think that perfectly sums up why I think it's 100% in terms of a TV show. Everything it wanted to do, it did it perfectly. It was just the best possible cartoon you could ever make. It was great for adults, great for children, had a lot of comedy, had a lot of horror, had great messages. Great show, 100%. Those are the only 3 things I can think of for 100% on the moist meter. The next big question is, why don't I like PUBG? So if you're unfamiliar with PUBG, God bless you, you're very lucky. But for those of you who do know, PUBG has taken off in popularity, it's done some incredible stuff, and it's spawned an incredibly hostile, toxic community that makes Overwatch community look like saints. And I don't like PUBG for one big reason. The game is fucking boring. At its core, it's just a boring game. Now, I loved it when it first came out. It did Battle Royale better than every other game out there at the time, and just as a side note, PlayerUnknown's Battleground didn't invent the Battle Royale genre. Please stop trying to copyright it, you fucking micro dicks at Bluehole or Pub Corporation, whatever the fuck you're calling yourself. I think it's Pub Corp. Sounds like a Resident Evil 7 faction that's evil, and they are evil people. But yeah, they did it the best at the time, and I loved it because the proximity voice chat was super fucking fun. Some unique memories that will never be able to exist in any other type of game. It was just a really fun wild, wild west of people looking for a good time and to fuck around. But the game at its core is just a boring game. The optimal strategy to win PUBG games is to avoid conflict at all cost, until the very end when the safe zone is shrunk down to about 20 virgins in a small area. But until then, everyone's just so spread across this absolutely massive map, and I say that in a bad way because the map is way too fucking big for only 100 players. Half the game is nothing happening at all. The map is so fucking big, it makes the entire state of Florida feel the size of a Dave & Buster's. It would take you longer to run from one side of the PUBG map, either one, the desert one or the other one. It would take you longer to run from one side to the other than it would for me to run from Orlando to St. Augustine. The map is far, far, far too big. And the games just consist of the same shit over and over again. You go to the ghost town, you loot for 15 minutes, then you run through an open field for 30 minutes with nothing at all happening. You just click auto run and that's the end of that. You get to the safe zone, you wait a little while, then you start auto running again with nothing happening the whole time. It's a boring fucking game at its core if you're trying to win. And now on to the next question, which really just kind of piggybacks off the last one. Why don't I like PlayerUnknown? Well, it's because, in my opinion, he's just a laughably pathetic developer, but I just think the way he conducts himself is sad. You could cough in his general direction, you will not only get banned in his game, he will then go on Twitter and drum up some sob story about how when he was 8 years old, a serial killer coughed near him and it cursed his whole family, so it's a traumatic experience. He's just such a sad man, in my opinion. It's just, he made this game, he showed it no tender love and care, he just rakes in all this money, he goes the way of greed with the loot boxes instead of fixing the shit that's glaringly wrong. But I mean, he's raking in so much money, it just doesn't matter to him, and you know, the game could have been a lot better, but fuck it, he's just gonna go cry on Twitter instead of doing shit that's actually beneficial. So, on to the next big question of the year. Do I still attempt shaving my asshole every now and then? Previous year's answering questions video, I was asked, do I shave my asshole a lot? And the answer was, yeah, occasionally I give it a try because I feel like, you know, cleaner shits, less wiping, and also less sweating down there. But turns out, counterproductive, shaving your asshole just leads to like fucking greased ass cheeks. It's far more moist down there, a lot more swamp ass, so no, I don't shave it down there anymore. Now on to a little speed round here because these are pretty simple answers to simple questions. What's my favorite 2017 game? Neo, by far. Fucking landslide, love that game. what is my streaming schedule, or do I have a streaming schedule? No, I don't. I always just stream whenever I feel like streaming. Forcing yourself to do something is never a good thing, unless of course you're like afraid of water and you never drink water. Then you probably at some point gotta force yourself to drink some fucking water. Do I plan on doing any more voice acting? That's not up to me. I'd like to. If any big budget video games, blockbuster movies need an emotionless husk to voice a character, I'm your guy. Another last big major question I've been asked a lot this year is, what camera do I use to record real life videos? I use an iPhone camera. I set it up in all types of baffling ways. You would be surprised at the amount of ways I've been able to set up this phone to record it the way I want it to be recorded. And sometimes that doesn't work, as you have seen in a video recently called "Yes, I Know the Camera is Shitty and Confusing." That wasn't the original title of the video. Only early birds got to see the real title, but the camera work was so fucking bad that I thought I might as well just acknowledge that, since the comments are saying how bad the camera is. Yes, I'm aware the camera's fucking bad, and I didn't notice it until afterwards, and I'd already paid $30 for the card, so rode with it. Point being, I set up my phone camera in a lot of different fucking ways. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't have a video camera, just my phone. So yeah, those are the biggest questions I got asked in 2017. So yeah, that's it.